By the way, you describe in the book the Flynn effect,
Yes.
discovered by your friend, the late James Flynn. Can you
Yes.
describe that? That's fascinating.
Well, the idea of the genetic determinants is that you had to rid the country of these inferior races, because otherwise the national IQ would go down over time, because the poorer people had more children than the richer people, and so that went on. Here again, the IQ data there that the genetic determinists were relying on looked like it supported what they said. But Jim Flynn decided that, well, first of all, you have to understand what an IQ score, how an IQ score is arrived at. Whatever number of questions answered correctly is the average at a given time, is given the number 100. Because when you do these tests, especially with children, if a 6-year-old child scores the same as a 12-year-old child, that means the 6-year-old child is either much brighter than usual, or the 12-year-old child is a lot less than usual. And so you compare all the 6-year-old children, and whatever the 6-year-old children, how many questions they answer correctly, that becomes 100. And then similarly for all the other ages.
Right,
so you can do that. And at adulthood, at some point, you simply say adult and non-adult.
Right.
All right. Now that sounds very innocent in itself, but what happens when people start answering more questions correctly than before? The next generation answers more questions. Now the number of questions answered by the second generation becomes 100. And so over time, as more and more people, black, white, and whatever, are answering more and more questions correctly, the tests are renormed. So having an IQ of 100 in 1925 is not the same thing as having an IQ of 100 in 1935 or 1950.
And this is exactly what was going on.
Yes.
People of all different kinds were
yes,
getting smarter, to put it crudely. Is that
but
fair?
once Jim Flynn decided to go back to the raw data, not just take the IQs. How many questions was this? And he discovers that the number of questions being answered correctly was increasing by large amounts, roughly one statistical deviation,
right,
from one generation to the next,
which is big.
Yes, and so the number of questions that blacks were answering, say around 2,000. And having an IQ of 85 would have been an IQ of 104 back in 1947. And so all this information was being ignored, because people took the IQ test as if that was a fixed number of questions I answered correctly.
And so you take the lid off that one. The Flynn effect
shows that the opposite was happening. That instead of the national IQ going down, it was going up.
It was going up. And so we have this fascinating discovery that somehow or other the conditions of modern life that requires more abstract thinking,
yes,
somehow it's bringing in...
the whole group is rising.
The whole group is rising.